South Korea might be the team that makes Group A uncomfortable. Mexico is the headline because it is hosting the tournament, but South Korea is the team with the most interesting risk-reward profile. This is one of Asia's most consistent World Cup nations. 11 straight World Cup appearances, a round of 16 finish in 2022, an unbeaten qualifying campaign for 2026, and a squad built around Son Heung-min, Min-jae, and Kang-in. So the talent is real, the experience is real, the speed is real, but the question is clarity. Does South Korea know exactly what it wants to be? Or is this team still adjusting its identity too close to kickoff? That is the story of South Korea's World Cup. South Korea is definitely not a tourist at this tournament. This will be its 12th World Cup, more than any other Asian nation. The peak is still 2002, when South Korea reached the semi-finals at home and changed the country's football identity forever. But this World Cup is not about nostalgia. This team is trying to prove it can still be more than a respectable group stage opponent. The group is manageable, but dangerous. South Korea opens against Czechia, then faces Mexico, then South Africa. That order matters. The first match against Czechia could decide everything. Win it, and South Korea can face Mexico with control and confidence. Lose it, and the Mexico game becomes a pressure match against a host nation with the crowd behind it. That is a bad place to be. So the opener is not just the opener, it is the hinge point of the whole tournament. South Korea qualified unbeaten. In the final round of AFC qualifying, it went 6 wins, 4 draws, 0 losses. Across qualifying, it scored 40 goals and conceded only 8. That is not lucky qualification, that is control. But there is a warning hidden inside those numbers. South Korea was strong, but not always convincing. The draws mattered because this team was expected to beat some opponents more comfortably. That tells us the profile. South Korea is dangerous when games open up. Son can attack space. Hwang Hee-chan can run the channels. Kang-in can receive early and release the next pass before the defense resets. But when opponents sit deep, slow the game down, and force South Korea to create patiently, the attack can become less clear. That is the question. Can South Korea win when there is no space? Because at the World Cup, teams do not always give you the game you want. The coach is Hong Myung-bo, and he matters. He is one of the biggest figures in South Korean soccer history. He played in 4 World Cups. He was part of the legendary 2002 semifinal team. He also coached South Korea at the 2014 World Cup when the team went out in the group stage. So 2026 is a second chance. Hong knows the pressure. He knows the history. But his biggest challenge is tactical. South Korea mostly qualified with a back 4. That system worked. It gave them structure and helped them stay unbeaten. But closer to the tournament, Hong has leaned toward a back 3. That could be smart. It gives Min-jae protection. It lets the wingbacks push higher. It can place Son and Kang-in closer to goal. And it can make South Korea compact without the ball and dangerous in transition. But it is also risky. A back 3 depends on details. Center-back timing, wing-back discipline, midfield spacing, pressing cues. If those details are sharp, South Korea becomes flexible. If they are not, the team can look stretched and unsure. That is the gamble. Back 4 got South Korea here. Back 3 might decide what happens next. The likely shape is a 3-4-2-1 or 3-4-3. Min-jae anchors the defense. The wingbacks provide width. Hwang In-beom and Lee Jae-sung give the midfield balance. Kang-in and Son operate between the lines. Hwang Hee-chan gives mobility up front. The idea is simple. Stay compact. Win the ball. Attack quickly. South Korea is at its best when the opponent loses shape. Min-jae wins the duel. The midfield finds Kang-in, Son or Hwang attacks the channel. Suddenly the opponent is running toward its own goal. That is the dangerous version. Compact, fast, technical, direct. But the weak points are clear. If the wingbacks stay too deep, South Korea becomes narrow. If they push too high, the outside center backs get exposed. If Son drops too deep, the team loses its biggest goal threat. If Kang-in is isolated, the attack becomes too predictable. So the formation is not the real issue. The spacing is. South Korea does not need to dominate possession. It needs to stay connected. If Hong sticks with the back three, the likely lineup looks something like this. Kim Sung-gyu in goal, with Jo Hyun-woo also competing. Kim Min-jae as the defensive anchor. Lee Ki-hyuk and Lee Han-byum as possible center-back partners. Seol Young-woo on the right. Lee Tae-seok on the left. Hwang In-byum and Lee Jae-sung in midfield. Lee Kang-in and Son behind the forward. And Hwang Hee-chan as the mobile attacking option. The real questions are about profiles. Does Hong want Hwang's movement, or a more traditional striker like Cho Gui-sung or Oh Hyun-gyu? Can the wingbacks handle the physical and tactical demands? Is Hwang In-byum sharp enough to control midfield? And where does Jens Kastrup fit? Kastrup is interesting because he gives Hong flexibility. In a tournament, flexible players matter, especially when the system may still need adjustment. 3 players who matter most. The first is Son Heung-min. He is still the face of the team. Even when he is not at his peak, he changes how opponents defend. They leave less space behind. They worry about counters. They know one clean shot can change the match. But that also creates a problem. If South Korea depends too much on Son, opponents know where to focus. Force him away from goal. Isolate him. Make someone else win the game. That someone else may need to be Lee Kang-in. He is the creator, the player who can make South Korea more than a transition team. He gives them passing quality, set-piece delivery, and control in tight spaces. If South Korea faces a deep block, Lee Kang-in becomes essential. The third is Kim Min-jae. He may be the most important player tactically. If the back three works, it will likely be because Kim holds it together. He has to win duels, organize the line, defend crosses, cover space, and stop transition moments before they become panic. Against Czechia, he has to handle physical pressure. Against Mexico, he has to handle movement and emotion. Against South Africa, he has to handle chaos. If Kim is dominant, South Korea looks serious. If he is constantly putting out fires, the system is in trouble. South Korea's first strength is transition threat. Lose the ball badly, and South Korea can hurt you quickly. Son attacks space. Hwang carries forward. Lee Kang-in finds the release pass. That is why the Mexico matchup is so interesting. If Mexico gets too aggressive and leaves space, South Korea has the tools to punish it. The second strength is the spine. Son in attack. Lee Kang-in as creator. Hwang In-byum and Lee Jae-sung in midfield. Kim Min-jae in defense. That is a real tournament core. The third strength is qualifying control. 40 goals scored, 8 conceded, unbeaten. Those numbers show a team that can manage games and avoid collapse. The fourth strength is set pieces. Lee Kang-in can deliver. Son can take dangerous balls. Lee Dong-gyong scored a free kick winner in the final warm-up. Kim Min-jae, Cho Gui-sung, and Oh Hyun-gyu can attack crosses. In this group, one set piece could decide who advances. The first weakness is system uncertainty. Changing toward a back three close to the tournament can be smart, but it can also create confusion. The second weakness is the wingback issue. A back three lives or dies through the wingbacks. They need to attack, recover, press, defend the far post, and make good decisions under pressure. If they fail, the system fails. The third weakness is Son dependency. South Korea has good players, but Son still carries too much of the attacking weight. If he is quiet, where do the goals come from? The fourth weakness is rhythm. Several key players have had questions around fitness, form, or minutes. That matters because this team depends on timing. If the midfield is slow, the back three gets exposed. If the wingbacks hesitate, the attack loses width. If the front line lacks chemistry, transition chances disappear. South Korea's ceiling is not only about talent, it is about timing. Czechia is the key match. It will be physical, direct, and uncomfortable. That tests South Korea's aerial defending, wingbacks, and midfield balance. A win gives South Korea control of the group. A loss turns Mexico into a survival game. Mexico is the trap opportunity. The host will likely want to press, attack, and feed off the crowd. That can suit South Korea. If Mexico pushes too high, Son and Hwang can attack space. If Mexico gets emotional, Kang-in can slow the game down. If Mexico gives away set pieces, South Korea can threaten. South Africa depends on the table. If South Korea already has points, it can finish the job. If South Korea needs a result, the match becomes stressful. South Africa will play with freedom. That is dangerous against a nervous favorite. South Korea's realistic ceiling is the round of 16. That would be a strong tournament. A quarterfinal is possible, but several things need to click. The wingbacks cannot become the weak link, and Hong's back three gamble has to look planned, not improvised. My prediction is simple: South Korea gets out of the group. This team is not expected to win the whole thing, but it has enough speed, experience, and star quality to ruin someone's World Cup. The talent is there. The question is whether the structure is ready. So now I want to know, is South Korea being underrated? Or is this team one tactical gamble away from trouble? If you enjoyed this kind of deeper World Cup breakdown, let me know. I'm planning to release more team previews, tactical breakdowns, and tournament storylines as we get closer to the World Cup. So if you want more videos like this, like the video, subscribe to the channel and tell me which country I should cover next.